on page Lamed Aleph 31, and we're at it's really the last paragraph of, for those who are following in paragraphs, the last paragraph of paragraph 40, Mem. Sof Dover, the Ramchal described us yesterday two words that are quite frightening, Tigabores Hara, the overpowering evil. If that's what people want, there's a world of Bechira out there. The Bechira started with about a much, right? That sixth day of creation, Adam Arishan had to make a decision. Is God the ultimate objective truth? And when he told me not to eat from the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra, that's objectively true because it will only bring me down. Or should I, and I can see, I have that concept in my mind and I accept that concept as reality? Or do I need to have a bite out of reality and experience it? And as we discussed, Adam Arishan decided that the Nachash maybe had a point, said, let me experience this, let me give it a bite, etc., etc. As we mentioned, Nachash said, you can be God as well, and he fell into this trap. With that, he opened a Pandora's box called the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra. Now, there's so much stuff in this Pandora's box. Pandora's box was sealed, and it was a fruit of the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra. It was a fruit in its shell, on its branch, and it was hanging there. It was, or according to Rabbi Yehuda, it was a chita. It was a stalk of wheat. Whatever it was there. You look at it, and the Baruch Shalom says, no, skull and bones, don't. And you conceptualize and say, I won't. And Nachash, leave me alone. Well, he opened the Pandora's box, and in this Pandora's box, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in there that I'd like to experience, from everything that the human being can imagine, and stuff that we never would have imagined 20 years ago that is being imagined today as stuff that people would want to try. 50 years ago, people would imagine the kind of stuff that people are interested in trying for themselves today in all kinds of areas of life. And the stuff in the Pandora's box appears to continue to multiply. Alternate lifestyles, alternate this, alternate that, all different kinds of alternatives that are now in this Pandora's box. And as we put our hand deep in this Pandora's box, we find more and more stuff that, quote unquote, we'd like to maybe try and experience. And the Rebbe Shalom says, I told you, keep your hands out of this box. The box was opened by Adam Arishan. Stop putting your hands in the box. Put the top on the box. Lock it up. Put the skeleton back in the closet. Shut the closet. And do your Gili Hayichud and understand that I'm teaching you objective truth, and walk away from everything else and stop groveling inside this box. And every time a person or humanity grovels further and further down, it's a tikboras hara. The Baruch Shalom says, if you want to grovel further down and see what's down there and what will it do to you and what will it do to the world, take a grovel. You have bechira, you have free choice. Now the Ramchal says on Lamed Aleph, Sof Dover, the end of this is, Tiri, you will see, Shekasha Bocha HaRotzim HaElu Nechos B'derech Hazeh, Nosan Mokom, L'chomash and Nosan Shtorch L'tachtonim L'shleimusam Hamidi. Ki bioso Master Ponav in Nosan Mokom L'chesronos, Uvasito Mokom L'chesronos Nosan Mokom L'avoda K'dei L'ashlimah. By the whole process, as we discussed, the process of Tzimtzum, the Rebbe Shalom didn't create a perfect world. He created a perfectly imperfect world so that we can become partners in perfecting that world. We have a choice. We can continue working towards perfecting the world with the Gilai Yichud, or continuing to bring greater imperfections into the world. You want to perfect it, or you want to add to the imperfections. And that's the choices that we make. And ultimately, if we're mashlim the world, we'll mashlim the world. And since the whole purpose of Bechira is that we would eventually come to the right choice and select God as the objective truth and the sovereign Echad Yochid Yuchad, and it's going to happen. And as we spoke about last week, there's an expiration date here. The expiration date is 6,000. So we're working towards that from Hev Yameinu, but there's an expiration date. At some point, if we continue on this path, there'll be what we imagine today. This can't, how bad can things get? The corona, the riots, the this, the that. How bad can the situation get? There's a Tevunos around. How bad can the situation get? Man will decide how bad the situation will get or how quickly it will improve. And since this is the whole Hester, the whole Tzimtzum, the whole way that God created the world in its imperfect state was so that we would have the opportunity to perfect it and to bring about the Gilui HaYichud through our work. And since one way or another, this Hester, this hidden, that God is hidden and we can't see him, and the more evil that occurs in the world, and the more destructive the forces are in the world, we say, where is God? What in the world is going on here? Why is God allowing this to happen? Is there a God? Where is God? Has he taken a break? Did he leave the room? He doesn't care. Whatever words you're going to use. But that is the question that's asked when you don't understand the Gilui HaYichud. What do you mean, where's God? So there's the famous quote, I forgot the name, Nebuch years ago, 7, 8, 10 years ago, I don't recall. There was a terrible shooting in an elementary public school somewhere in the Northeast, I believe, Massachusetts, Connecticut, I don't remember where. It was a terrible school shooting, I believe more than 20 children Nebuch killed. And someone asked a question on a TV interview, I believe it may have been a parent whose child was shot or maybe even killed. The parent asked on the interview with a newscaster, where was God when the children were being killed? And to that, I forget his name as well, to that, a politician, no longer in politics, he retired. One time he ran for the nomination for the Republican nominee to be president of the United States. He's a religious man. He was the governor, I believe, in a Midwestern state. And he said, I don't know why parents are asking where God was while the children were being killed in the hallways of the school. The parents have done everything to kick God out of the schools. And suddenly, you can't pledge allegiance to the flag. You can't say God's name in school. You can't teach about the 10 Commandments. If there are 10 Commandments in the hallway of the school, you rip them down. And then people want to know, where was God? Why wasn't he in the hallway protecting the children? You kicked him out of the school. Why do you think he's there? So we have these questions, where is God? Where is God? Where is God? Where is God? We need to think ourselves, what do you mean, where is God? Did we not kick him out maybe? Did we kick him out in any way from our life? Did we kick him out of the community? Did we kick him out of the world? And then we suddenly ask, where is he and how can we allow this to happen? So yes, there's a tikboros hara, and God is waiting for us to, quote unquote, invite him back in, which requires shutting that Pandora's box and putting the skeleton back in the closet and saying God's the objective truth. But this is going to happen one way or another. If we take a look at Rav Friedlander's footnote 65, at the bottom of page Lamed Aleph, he writes as follows. La'asad lavo, in the future, b'mherev yameinu yizgala ech shemitol hagdolas hara, born li bei matzav built-in nizbo. Everybody hear that? Everybody hear what Rav Friedlander, he's explaining to Ramchal. In the future, it will be revealed to us that through the evil, the destructive forces that are taking over the world, built the Mizbal, it's going to get to the point where you can't even tolerate it anymore. You don't want to know what the news is. You're scared to look at a picture. You don't know what, you simply don't want to know. You feel better off not knowing. Hear no evil, see no evil, because it makes you sick. And you bought with a matzah built-in Mizbal, people are going to come to a point they simply can't take it. They can't tolerate it anymore. V'yakiu es heres hara, and they will recognize that all this is destructive forces. People that burn down cities are destructive forces. People that loot and rob are not expressing their disappointment in something. They are evil. But nobody can get up and say that today because they will lose their job. If a politician gets up and says, protesters that loot and rob are evil, goodbye. College professors today that say that this is evil, goodbye. You can't even call evil evil. Today, there's a whole list of quotes I saw in an article, a whole list of quotes. One newscaster, I think on CNN, said, stealing property is not violent. Killing someone is violent. So now we have a new definition. If you break into someone's home and you steal everything he owns, that's not a violent crime. It doesn't turn violent until the person puts a bullet in the person's head. We have all kinds of definitions of evil. Evil is being redefined. What is normal and abnormal is being defined. What is right and wrong is being redefined. This has been going on for a long time. This is the Tigboirus Hara. This is what the Ramchal is now describing as the victory, the immense power that evil is getting, and it's becoming destructive, and the normal people on the street simply are coming to the point where they can't take it anymore. Ad shehara yisbaka kibuat sabon v'yisbato minei ubei. Until the evil will become so evil that it will break apart and it will implode in itself. And watch it happen. This week's Parsha, Parsha's Korach. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says we should learn what it means, what a machlokes l'shem shamayim is. What does it mean for two people to disagree in the name of heaven? And the Mishnah says it's a machlokes of Hillel and Shammai. Hillel and Shammai argued strenuously about halacha, and yet, once the argument was over, in the vast majority of places, Shammai understood that the halacha was like Hillel, which is a sugya in itself, in the Gemara in Erev and Daf Yud Gimel Amud Beis, why the halacha is like Hillel. But Shammai understood that. He had his own points, he had his own perspective, he had his own shita. At the end of the day, they were ava v'achva v'shalom v'reyes between them. The Gemara in Yevamah says, ha'emes v'ashalom ehovu. Beis Shammai married Beis Hillel, Beis Hillel married Beis Shammai, even though according to Beis Shammai, the Gemara says there are certain marriages that were permitted, certain relationships that were permitted according to Hillel, that would not be permitted according to Shammai. What's the result of that? When Shammai looks at Hillel, he's saying that Hillel is full of possibilities. Suffolk may be mamzerim. There are marriages that I prohibit that Hillel permits. And I don't know if this particular girl or boy comes from such a marriage or from such a marriage a generation ago. And according to me, there could be mamzerim. It's a Suffolk. So therefore, I, Shammai, cannot marry my children to Hillel. Gemara says didn't happen. Gemara in Yevamos. They had a disagreement l'shem shamayim. The halacha is paskin l'shem shamayim, and Shammai married his children to Hillel's children. That's halacha. I have my viewpoint. I have my perspective. It has nothing to do with me becoming tribal. It has nothing to do with separating out from you. This is Hillel and Shammai. Then the Mishnah says, Ezo hi machlokes shelo l'shem shamayim. Give me an example of a machlokes that's not in the name of heaven. So the Mishnah says, Zu machlokes Korach v'chol adosav. It's the machlokes of Korach and his whole congregation. There's a problem there with the words. We need the protagonists here. What's the machlokes that shows us you can argue for the sake of heaven? Hillel and Shammai. Because it was Hillel versus Shammai. And that's the example of two people who argued l'shem shamayim. Now the Mishnah says, I want to give you an example of machlokes, not l'shem shamayim. What's machlokes not l'shem shamayim? Korach and Moshe. Korach wasn't fighting inside his own congregation. It was Korach. He created a congregation of Korach followers, and Korach and his Korach followers were fighting Moshe. So the Mishnah should say, what's a machlokas l'shem shemayim? Yerushama. What's a machlokas not l'shem shemayim? Korach and Moshe. Moshe is not mentioned here. It says machlokas not for the sake of heaven is Korach and his congregation. So the Mefarshim answer that whenever you have these kind of revolutionaries like Korach, whose sole purpose is to throw down authority, Moshe Rabbeinu was the authority, the God-chosen authority, and Korach's revolution was nothing more than, let's get rid of some of this authority. That's what it was about. Some of it had to do with, I'd like to be the boss, or I'd like to be the Kohen, Machlokes. In the Rishonim, take a look at the Ramban, what exactly Korach and his people wanted. Whatever the case is, this was the anarchists. This was, let's get rid of the authority. And then we'll figure out who wants to be boss. Let's create a little chaz. Let's create a little 6-block area inside Seattle. We'll call it Korach Adosai. We don't need here Moshe Rabbeinu. We don't need this authority. We can live and commune here in peace, in beauty, in hippie land. And Woodstock, okay, Woodstock 2020. Everybody do what makes you happy. So Mefarshim say that these kind of revolutionaries, whose only goal it is to take down the authority that's in front of them, it's just a matter of time before there's a revolution against the revolutionary. Because if Korach takes down Moshe, chas v'shalom, because Moshe is too much of an authority, and Korach steps into his shoes, then someone needs to take down Korach eventually because he's too much of an authority. Revolutions lead to revolutions. And in Chaz itself, there's reports now about internal strife about who the balabas inside Chaz is. Is it this black person? Is it this black person? The machlokes inside Chaz, who is now the balabayas inside Chaz, which of course is going to happen. Where there's no chosen authority, specifically a Rebbeinu Shalom chosen authority, and eventually it becomes just a revolutionary against a revolutionary. So the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, I'll tell you what a machlokas l'shem shamayim is. A machlokas for the name of heaven is Hillel and Shammai. They go at it, they argue sensibly, they argue logically, they argue in the name of heaven because they want to get to the objective truth as far as a human can. Once they reach a conclusion, or the halacha paskins like Beis Hillel, done. And Hillel and Shammai can marry each other's children to each other. But what's the machlokes not for the sake of heaven? It has nothing to do with Moshe. It's Korach v'chol hadasai. It's Korach and his whole congregation. They're going to bite each other's necks off. Because once they get rid of Moshe Rabbeinu chas v'shalom and Korach becomes the boss, somebody will get rid of Korach so he can be the boss. And when this person becomes the boss, somebody will get rid of him so he can be the boss. So when it's all about anarchy and all about just getting rid of authority, you're going to have the French Revolution. You're going to have people under the guillotine, daily hundreds. You're going to keep on executing people and going from one French Revolution to the next French Revolution until you're out of revolutions. And I'll go on and on. So the Friedlander says here that eventually the Ra will become so great, the destructive forces in the world become so great that people can't tolerate it anymore, the normal people. And at that point where the Ra becomes so destructive, it will implode itself. The Ra will cause its own destruction. Because within, and when that happens, when the Ra implodes itself, what will come from that is people will see this was incredibly destructive. I thought that this wasn't, I didn't think this was anarchy. I thought we were building a beautiful country called Chaz. I thought everything would be beautiful here. The last reports in the news that I saw, it said that 9/11 in Seattle, we're getting calls from inside the 6-block area Chaz of women being raped and burglaries in houses, and the police commissioner cannot send police in there because the mayor of Seattle, Meshiga Offen Cup, the mayor of Seattle called the people inside Chaz that have taken over this place, she called them patriots. They're patriots. So evil now are patriots. And the police can't respond to rape and burglary inside Chaz. So the Ra is going to self-implode. And when it self-implodes, it's going to just break open. And when things break open, you see what's inside. So long as there's a shell around it, it's a protective shell. It looks beautiful on the outside. When it implodes and the shell breaks open, what you have in there is an egg that splashes all over the floor. And now we can see what the inside looks like. So it's going to implode, it's going to break open, and then we're going to get a bird's eye look at what was really going on inside there. What's going on inside there is this a bunch of evil people with evil ideas that had no good intentions whatsoever. It was about power, it was about control, it was about false ideas, and we're going to see this at the Gilui HaYichud. So we can bring about the Gilui HaYichud by putting the skeleton back in the closet, shutting the door, putting all the quote-unquote experiences back in the Pandora's box, shutting the Pandora's box, trying to get back to that moment of the sixth day of creation, saying, Rabbeinu Shalom, you have the objective truth. What you tell us is objective truth. I'm going to understand that you are the sovereign, you are Echad Yachad Yuchad, you control the world. I'm going to understand that. I'm going to work on that. And this is just not a minute of work. This is working and working and working and working until you understand. As we spoke about, your parnasa comes from Rabbeinu Shalom. It doesn't come from your employer does you a tremendous chesed. He employs you, and your employer has the chesed that the Rabbeinu Shalom sends him business that he can now disperse in paychecks to people. It's a chesed, but we go back to the shoresh. We go back to we are shoroshistic people, as our footnote says. We need to look at the sources of where things come from, and the more we become source people, we understand events are directed and guided by Hashem. Panos is guided and directed by Hashem. And when we come to this idea that we work on ourselves, Echad, Yachad, Miyuchad, he's the only one, the only sovereign, the only bearer of objective truth, we can bring Mashiach to finish the Gilui HaYichud. But if we can't get that done for ourselves, we can't get it done for others, and we can't teach it, we're not successful. So Rabbeinu Shalom says, go back into the bed in which you made and have a good time. Continue experiencing. Maybe one Chaz, maybe there'll be two Chazes, God forbid. Maybe America will turn into four Chazes. Who knows what it holds. And eventually people say, no, this is disgusting. Something has to be done about this. And eventually the Ra will it'll implode itself. And then we'll take a microscopic look at what's going on inside there. And it will be nimbus. It will be disgusting when you see what's really going on inside the Ra. Rav Friedlander continues, through this we will understand the great wonders of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehara Machala Es Atzma. The evil will destroy itself. It's God's plan. The evil will self-implode. Umitoch Hagdolas Hara, Hashem Yisbarach Matzmiach Yeshua, Espit Lara. And the more the Ra becomes empowered, which we don't want it to do, Ramchal will talk about it later, but if that's the way we decide the world's going to run, the more power it gets, the more destruction it's going to get. You've got this egg or this balloon, and it keeps on pumping more and more air into the balloon. The balloon's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And wow, this balloon is incredibly big, pop, until the whole thing pops because a little too much air was put into it. And that's the Ra popping eventually when it overpowers itself from the inside. And then we're going to see this incredible story of history by which the Tigboris Hara actually resulted in the Gilui HaYichud. Through this, the Yichud will be revealed. There's nothing that can go up against Hashem. Everything happens to honor God and only at God's will. Paragraph Mem Aleph. Omra HaNeshama, the Neshama said to the Seichel, Nekabetz Evo Kol Asher Dibanu Ad Ata Bim Nazeh Kirahu. Please, we mentioned this happens all across the Sefer. After the Ramchal finishes a certain set of concepts, he has the Neshama say to the Seichel, we've done a lot. can we get a sikum? Can we get a summary here of everything we've done till now? And he'll do that every so often in the Sefer as he goes through different concepts. And Bolineda will pick up tomorrow with paragraph Membeis, which is the sikum of what we've done for a while, dealing with the Gilui HaYichud and dealing with Bechira, our choices, and how we can bring about the Gilui HaYichud. You see paragraph 42 is a very short paragraph, so it's a very short synopsis of everything that we've done for quite several weeks. Those Yidden who need refuah should have refuahs. Those Yidden who need Yeshua should have Yeshuas. Those Yidden that need Nechama should have Nechamas. Refuah Shalema Tetova Esther Basleya Miriam B'Sok Shachar Yisrael. Refuah Shalem Natanel Ilan Ben Chain Refuah Shalem B'Sok Shachar Yisrael. Say some of the other names that I have. Refuah Shalem Yosef Chaim Ben Shoshana Menucha. Daniel Dov Ber Ben Zelda Rivka. Nachum Zev ben Zahava Rivka, Shlomo Cheskel Baruch ben Gaina Elkabasya, Elisha ben Chai Yehudis. Should all have a refuah shalom b'sok shachar Yisrael. Refuahs Yeshuas Nechamas only come from the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Echad Yachad Yuchad. Everybody, please take care of yourselves. Go where it makes sense. Do what makes sense, based upon your medical condition, your age, etc. And everybody should have a wonderful, healthy, gesundheit day. Be well. Bolineda tomorrow, Yom Shlishi. We begin at 9 o'clock with Sefer Yeshaya. And we're going to begin today, before we forget today, 23rd of Sivan. Today is a Purim day. It's part of the sequence of Purim. Today, Ahasuerus signed, or Mordechai was given permission to sign the decree that the Jews can defend themselves on the 13th day of Adar. Tomorrow we'll be beginning Sefer Yeshaya, and tomorrow's pasuk will be Ushaftem Mayim Besasai Mimayne HaYeshua. That's the pasuk we're up to in Yeshaya. Hey, Rabbi Yameinu. Sei gesund, everybody.